It is February 10th, 2026, and it's 3:30 p.m. We'll do a roll call of the elected officials, starting with Councilor Whitlock.
Jeff Whitlock.
Rachel Whipple. Becky Bogdan.
Patrice McKay.
And Craig Christensen.
Marcia Judkins.
Although this is a public meeting, only the presenters and those invited by the council may speak or ask questions, unless otherwise invited by the chair. Please wait to speak until called upon by the council chair. When speaking, please be sure to use a microphone so that the record is clear and those attending virtually can hear you. Please also be sure to limit side conversations as they interfere with the audio recording. If you need to have a side conversation, please step out of the work meeting room. It is proposed that we approve the following minutes: January 27th, 2026 work meeting, January 27th, 2026 council meeting. Are there any objections or requested changes? See no objection, I declare the minutes approved by unanimous consent. All right, our first item of business is an ordinance amending the zone map classification of approximately 39 acres of real property generally located at 2255 North University Parkway from RC and SC2 zones to VLDR or LDR, MDR, and SC3 zones. This is in the Carterville neighborhood, and this was presented by Jessica Danek. Jessica Danek, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we're here to start the station area plan rezone process. Station area plans, as you're aware, were adopted by you back in September. We're bringing the rezones one station at a time, starting here with 2230 North. Just as a refresher, our approach to the future land use map was to keep the most intense uses right next to the station, and then slowly fade out so that they can integrate with the surrounding neighborhood. Here is a visual of the areas that we'll be rezoning and kind of what that will look like with the proposed rezones. At Planning Commission, we received 2 public comments. Beth Hedengren from the Northwest District mentioned concerns about the traffic impact and required open space. And then Eric Chase mentioned being in favor of it, but saying that he wished the changes were a bit more intense.
I'm sorry, the changes were more what?
That there's just more change or a bit more involved. The Planning Commission recommended approval to the Municipal Council with the additional recommendation that they evaluate where the zone boundary lines were drawn. Their recommendation was that we do not draw the rezone boundary lines across streets, but instead have them in backyards so that different densities weren't facing each other. And there was one additional recommendation by the Planning Commission that I included, although it does not impact the actual rezone process. Their additional recommendation was just that we evaluate the amenity points for developments in the station area plan project areas. Again, that is not an impact of the rezone that we're talking about today, but since we have this station area and 3 other station areas to go over, I think it's something to be aware of, that was part of the discussion and will probably be part of the discussion of the future Planning Commission meetings. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Jessica?
Yeah, so we had done a lot of work and a lot of public comment to develop these station area plans. We sent them to the state and got approved. Would there be any issue with us doing a zone change that is not consistent with the plan that we submitted to the state?
I'm not 100% sure on that. The change would be pretty close to what we have approved. But I do think we would actually have to go through and update our future land use map so that it is a corresponding match like for like.
Okay, because my previous understanding was that we would just need to pass the rezone that was consistent with the plan that we had already submitted. So I'm a little bit surprised that at this point, the Planning Commission would recommend that we change what we had already set up. And if by taking their recommendations, it is considered a substantial change to the plan, I do not want to do that because I don't want to have to go back through the state. And it sounds like the recommendations are just very modest changes. So I don't know if they make that material change. But I would be in favor of just accepting it as it was proposed without adopting the planning commission recommendations. Based on my understanding of the process.
Piggyback on that. So you're saying that if we do this change in 6 months, if we decide we're going to zone something differently for something that comes along, we can't do that?
My understanding is if we're doing something that is different than what is in the station area plan future land use map, we have to amend that map as well as doing the rezone.
Through the state or just through the city?
I believe it does have to go back to the city.
Just the
Is
city?
that- No, no, it does not have to go back to the state. Is that correct, Bill?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Well, and part of the reason I ask is if we do need to adopt them consistent with the plans that we sent to the state, it would probably be helpful to let the planning commission know that. So that they know if they're making a recommendation to change it, they know the scope of the additional work that they're requesting. And since it sounds like nobody in this room actually knows the answer to that question, we should figure that out. But the first plan is a good one to find that out about.
I don't care so much about what the planning commission wants. I care like we can't change things down the road. That seems odd to me. That's what I want an answer to.
I can't believe that you would not be able to make changes. I think it's a matter of changing the statement also, but let us know.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Whitlock.
Could you articulate what the details of the rationale for the recommendation to planning commission suggested?
What they wanted to create was not having a place where two different densities were directly across from each other. In this instance, their concern wasn't too much with LDR and VLDR as the difference in allowed units at maximum capacity is not that great, but the difference between MDR and LDR, where MDR allows up to 30 units per acre and LDR allows 12 units per acre. They just felt it would create a stronger sense of community if similar densities were right across the street from each other, as opposed to having a large difference between the two that were facing each other.
So what would be the change? Would it be just dragging down the MDR to touch the LDR so the backyards meet, or like what exactly is the recommended change?
They didn't give a specific recommendation. It could be dragging the LDR up so that it's drawn through higher, basically one row of houses up, or bringing the MDR down so that it's on the other side of the street, but having both sides of the street be the same density.
And I guess that's what the concern is, right? That when development's coming to us, that it is appropriate and we see it and you're looking at it on the street and as a whole. And if we can't change that at all after the fact, that seems very rigid and not the best thing for the city.
Yeah, we'll verify if we have to take it back to the state or if we can just do an internal station area plan amendment.
Councilor Whitlock.
Yeah, I had one other question. Is the river not just like right to the right of the MDR rezone?
Yeah, on the west side of University
Yeah.
Parkway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any concern that maybe we don't have any choice here with the state, but like, is there any concern that we upzone this now, rezone it, and then we get a project that doesn't match the design standards we're working on for the river, like in that interim?
It's a huge concern.
But
Can
would
you-
this stop us from doing
Where's-
an overlay?
Can you touch where the river is?
Let me,
It's just right there on the bottom right, I think.
this area here that's.
Yeah.
So right now they have to stay 100 feet back.
Okay. And how close is the property line to the rezone to the river right now?
I'll look on GIS, but I believe it's right up.
It's closer than, it's probably like 40 feet or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Counselor Bogdan.
Just to verify. If this didn't do a zone change, but it was just something that was just within the same zone. Would they be okay at just staying closer than the 100 feet? Because they're already there.
Yeah, they're gonna be great.
We wouldn't that bothered in.
Any development, any building permit that comes to us right now, nothing can be within 100 feet.
But like a remodel or something would be within 100 feet, right? So
You can do an internal remodel, you just can
do it in
Build
external.
structure.
Footprint.
expand footprint.
So would we run into the same problem with this as we are running into with like the hotels and different things like that? It would be so expensive for them to tear it down that it's better to just let them decay.
So
Because if you couldn't rebuild and they're closer than 100 feet.
you can remodel, you just can't expand.
You can tear it down and rebuild.
They can redo the whole house, just not expand.
That makes me wonder if they would, if we would run into those same kinds of issues, that people would want to tear it down because you're losing value.
I think it goes on changing. The impact on.
Any other questions for Jessica? All right. So we'll just have those questions answered tonight. Thanks, Jessica. All right, next, an ordinance amending the zone map classification of real property generally located at 1560 South, Neighborhood West, from the A1.5 and RA zones to the general commercial and very low density VLDR zones. This is the Lakewood neighborhood, presented by Aaron Ardmore.
Okay, thank you. I will quickly go through these slides. There's the area that's being requested tonight for a rezone. Then you see the general plan and the current zone map there. Here's what the proposed zones would look like. And then they've also, we've brought in the plans from the concept plan that the Plan Commission saw along with this rezone request. So I'm here to answer any questions or prepare anything for tonight, but I'll just save the rest of the public presentation for the public tonight.
Thanks, Aaron. I want to recognize that Gary Garrett has joined us. But any questions for Aaron?
I don't have questions, but I do have comments.
Counselor Bogdan.
I'm not in love with this at all. I mean, when the West Side area plan was done, this was all housing units and not commercial units. They have commercial units across the street that we just rezoned for not too long ago. And this is all up for commercial sales, so it's not like they have somebody in the seat right now. And from what I heard at the planning or at the neighborhood meeting, hotel or gas station on that bigger spot. And then you've got some other things. Now, I agree with Lisa on number one. I'm wondering how we have driveways. 1560 is a collector and 1100 is a collector. So how do we have driveways? How did that get past engineering that we have driveways right there? Why isn't it more integrated with the project itself?
So again, this is a concept plan. So what is being requested from you tonight is a rezone request to match the general plan. If we can go back a slide.
Also, the
The general plan there marks this area as mixed use, so that explains the two zones that they're requesting.
That's a change from the Southwest area plan though. Southwest
It's
area
not.
plan. Yes, Southwest area plan is 33 acres of R1 or whatever, the residential. It's not mixed use.
Well, this bubble is actually a mixed use bubble. And that
It did not go across the street. It
It
was on
does.
the-
This is a literal snapshot of that general plan map.
Okay, I'm not happy with this at all.
Okay.
And there's no buffer. I mean, we don't have an LDR node between Heron's Landing and what's coming up. It's just 4 units to an acre. And I'm concerned, one of the comments that was brought up by one of my friends at the neighborhood meeting was, this is supposed to be for neighborhood commercial, not restaurants, hotels, stuff for the sports park and to support the sports park and airport.
What's neighborhood commercial?
Something that would support the neighborhood. I'm concerned that a hotel is not something that's gonna support the neighborhood. You've got not Dixon Junior High, you've got the junior high down the street, Shoreline Middle School. It dead ends at 6 and it dead ends at the Parkway. It all bothers me. I'm more aligned with Lisa and get this thing. So you've got residential, so it comes to the back of Karen's property here. Not Karen's property, and then this needs to integrate somehow with the whatever's there, and then you need some kind of transition piece. That's what you see here. You see an LDR node with commercial. Not necessarily commercial on the other side. But if it does go through, it needs to be more consistent with the housing units that are gonna come here. This would need to be something that would transition. And this would need to integrate more here. And I would love to see something here that would be more neighborhood commercial versus a hotel.
You said that's a school right there, right?
The school further north, and this the school's further north.
What's that
Okay,
building?
what's the building directly across the street?
There's a church.
State center.
It's a stake center. Okay, so it's not housing.
Oh, the school's just a little bit further up. The school's there. I would just rather see something, and I know he's not. I mean, there's for sale signs on both sides of the street for commercial, so he's not got anything solid. I'd like to see a better plan. I don't wanna see a hotel that's gonna turn out like some of those older hotels we have in Provo that are renovated and then they turn into a burden for a neighborhood. Cause we see a lot of those. Stuff like that I think is better, even if you have something more. And the west side, I think, has made it very clear that East Bay is not where they want their commercial. They want it more on Center Street. So I would like to see something more that would function better with a neighborhood here than a hotel or a gas station. Being if the Walmart goes in, that's a gas station. I'm hearing gas station, hotel, some kind of service down at the sports park. Just something that more integrates. On this side, East Bay is close enough that, you've got gas stations, you've got fast food, you've got lots of amenities.
But we still have nothing. There is no guarantee of a hotel or a gas station. This is just a zone change.
Yeah, but that is our leverage, right? Once we change the zone, we have no leverage after that.
So what zone would be the right commercial that you want?
I don't know, what zone would be the right commercial for more neighborhood commercial?
I would argue commercial, general commercial, but you disagree with that, so.
Yes,
He does.
SC1 is also referred to as neighborhood commercial. It's more limiting than general commercial.
It's SC1 stand for.
Community shopping center, although the acronym, the letters reversed. Community shopping, one meaning light least intense.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what Becky's talking about when she says neighborhood.
Is that more of what I'm saying?
yes.
Okay, would this be one of those ones, well, general commercial too would be one of those ones, you'd have to have a CUP for I don't even know what a CUP stands for. Conditional use permit. A conditional use permit for something like a car dealership or something? Is SC1 allowed a car dealership by right?
I think so. Let me look it up, but I don't believe so.
Becky, I'm looking up right now, I'll send it out.
Okay, any more comments or questions? All right.
So,
Councilor Whipple.
the 4 little commercial pads that would be for restaurants, would you consider that something that would be supporting the neighborhood?
Push it south. Because I think, are those the ones that are faced?
They're the ones in the
East-west?
middle. Yeah.
Yeah, if we could go to the other slide, it shows it a little better.
Again, these are like just ideas, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're all ideas, but this is how we have our leverage. Once we zone it, we have leverage.
yeah,
That's a good point.
And that's what I'm worried about.
there we go.
I'm not loving the plan. It's just not.
Do you like the twin home idea that's closer to the neighborhood thing? Like, does that look like a good buffer to you?
But I don't want the driveways on 1560. I prefer it somehow integrated into the commercial.
Okay, but do you like the idea of the twin homes?
That's fine with me.
Okay,
I think that's more of a transition rather than an R18 lot and an R10 lot, right?
yeah,
Those ones clear on the other side of the field, I think are R17. Because they had a little bit more density. But I think you're still gonna have a transition. I'm just afraid of what this is gonna look like. There's no transition piece, there's no. It's just thrown there.
The density is too high for that space.
Well, I
So-
don't even know that there's even any there's no transition piece from there to. I mean, Karen's cows, I'm sure she'll rent out that space because she was asking about where do I put my cows now. So I'm sure her cows will be on that field.
But all that stuff's gonna be an issue as you're developing on developed land, right? I mean,
Yeah, but you're gonna have an R10 or R18 as it sits now up against that commercial spot.
Moving
You're not
on.
gonna have a transition.
you'll see what goes there and then it'll decide what goes next, you know?
Not when the general plan says it's residential for the west side, which is 3 units to an acre.
Yep.
The LDR node's on the other side. The LDR node's not on this side.
Any more comments or questions?
So Becky, would SC1 reflect, rather than CG reflect more the like the neighborhoods would be expecting or looking for or hoping for? Because in the list here that
Please.
put up, I don't see a hotels or gas station. Seems to be more consistent with that draw.
Okay, then that.
Restaurant with some shops.
Yeah, I'd like to see, like I said, I'd like to see also that twin home space more connected, maybe draw the line with Karen's property to the back. And then something we'd have to tweak some kind, for this to go through, I would feel better if they tweak some kind of buffer between in that field area.
Should keep scrolling down to conditional uses.
Sure.
Thank you. Just so you can see what's there.
Where'd it go? So is it just the use classification, communications, restaurants and drive-through service? Auto washing, polishing? Daycare or veterinarian services?
It's all those.
That auto washing. And
I
polishing.
knew that was gonna get you.
I think it gets everybody. Well, do you have to have that as a conditional use for us?
You have to then take it out, but you do that.
Because I think those automated car washes are getting everybody's going more, aren't they? Do I have support to take that out of the SC1 zone?
Where would that?
Start texting people.
How clean is your car?
Not that clean, but not enough that I want that in an SC1. And I think that there's a lot of support within, from how I've heard, even East Side and everything, that should probably be removed.
We still have many other commercial zones that vote on them.
Yeah,
Okay, can I make a
Agree.
motion that we remove the auto washing and polishing conditional use permit from the SC1 zone?
Becky, just as a note on that motion, we are currently doing in the middle of a zoning rewrite, so maybe if we made a motion that we request that administrative staff or council staff in our review of the zoning rewrite, we check for conditional or permitted uses of auto washing and make sure that those are only in selected commercial zones
I would say.
when that comes back to us. Unless you want to do it immediately, then I would go for it with this motion.
Let's just do what you said.
Well,
Craig was
I would
going.
agree. I don't think they belong in neighborhoods. They belong in more commercial areas. So I think the rewrite would be a good place to do that. So do you want to redo the motion?
Okay, I will have the motion that Malia said.
okay, and we have a second by
Nice.
Craig Christensen. So we'll take a quick vote on the motion. Counselor Garrett,
Yes.
Counselor McKay, yes. Counselor Christensen,
Yes.
Counselor Whitlock,
Yes.
Counselor Bogdan.
Yes.
Counselor Hoban is excused. Counselor Whipple.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, hello. Sorry, Travis. I didn't know you were there.
that's all right.
Like to recognize Travis Hoban is here and Counselor Whipple.
Yes.
So that passes 7. All right. Counselor Whitlock.
I just had a couple questions. So first one is, I'd love to hear a little bit more about staff's rationale for this particular plan, and is it more driven by what you felt like was appropriate and needed for the success of the development, or was it more driven by the applicant? I'd just like to hear some more context as far as like the thinking.
Yeah, it's definitely driven by the applicant, but referencing the general plan, I think the general plan supports a mix of zones there, and the zones that were selected by the applicant went through the process and didn't find any issues.
So in the general plan, the circle that is
Mixed use, yeah.
Why take the approach of kind of like, I think this comment was said during the planning commission discussion about basically like trying to see kind of more integrated rather than like a very, potentially like Councilor Bogdan said, heavy impact on the consumer and then like a slightly less impact and then housing instead of something kind of more integrated.
Yeah, I think a vertical mixed use kind of typical to what you see downtown and in those types of areas. You're not going to get that right now out here on the west side. I just don't think there's a market for it. I think it has to start with a vertical mixed use. And this was a proposal to do that.
Was like, because I find the word mixed use to be maybe we need to evaluate how it's used in the plan. Anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll give you some context. So the parcel across the street, people have wanted to rezone that one over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it finally got rezoned sometime within the last year or two.
You're saying the one across 11
Yeah.
100 West? Yep.
And everybody wanted housing units.
Yep.
And as many housing units as they could get. And so we were afraid that they were just gonna use all the housing units and then there's no commercial to come ever, because there's more commercial on this general plan than the west side could even support, right? And so then what are you gonna be left with? Especially with all the infrastructure issues that the west side has. So the idea was to bring it into mixed use so that some of those units had to stay with that property in case it never developed. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I have one more question. Sorry.
Bill has a comment.
Some clarity on this issue would be helpful for staff, because we just met the developer at 1600 West in Lakeview and told them to put commercial node at 16th and Lakeview. And a lot of this is being influenced by residents who have told staff for many years they want more commercial amenities on the west side. So we have seen more commercial zones. That's a good thing. Good step towards getting that. So if that's not really what you're thinking, please let us know, because I just had somebody amend their plan that you're going to be seeing in the next few months to put another commercial node there.
Do they transition it well?
Yes, it will. Yeah, from what I've seen so far, we'll have a good transition. But that's 700 units on 150 acres. So there's a lot more room and opportunity to transition and integrate open space, that kind of stuff when you're talking about 150 acres.
I think what we need to be careful of is that all the commercial doesn't come down along the parkway and then there's no commercial for the northern neighborhoods, right? They've made it very loud and clear that East Bay is not west side, and the services diminish the further west you go and the further north you go. So they want it more centralized because they want something. They can still travel, but not all the way down to the southern border of Provo to get it. So, if you look at some of those commercial nodes, I would say Geneva Road 2050 would be a great place to have that. One, it's closer to the sports park. One, that's a major corridor throughout the entire west side. Or even closer towards the airport because that's closer to that. But the real big thing that they want is something more centralized, something more on your center street. I saw a Facebook post from Ryan McCord stating he was working with you guys?
Yes, on a commercial node at center in Lakeview. So we agree with what you're saying about farther north. but it's gonna be on these arterials or major collectors where the commercial zones are gonna wanna go.
Right, and I agree with that. I just think that we need to make sure that we don't rob from the more centralized and put everything down on the parkway, because that's not going to facilitate the needs of the west side. It's gonna make us pat on the back, feel good, we got commercial on the west side, but it's not gonna facilitate what is needed or what is desired. It's gonna ostracize the northern neighborhood.
I had one more question. It's more of a process question. And my understanding was we generally aim to sort of have a week between, or a meeting between items and a work meeting and the general meeting. I'm curious why that's not the case in these two items. Is there like some time constraint or?
This is pretty typical for a rezone to
That's pretty
come and
typical.
study meeting and then be on the night.
Okay. What's the principle on which we push, like create a gap versus not? They're like,
So, Councilor Whitlock, the little history, and I'm sure Brian can share the Sewell Accords with you. But at least in my time here with the city, they've come to a work meeting and same night to the council meeting, primarily for noticing purposes. So when the planning commission notices their meeting, they simultaneously notice the applicant's item for council meeting. That's not to say that you couldn't continue the meeting if you needed or wanted more time, but that's been kind of the historical context. And Brian can fill in the reason for that being is years ago in days yonder, there was this meeting about how to increase the timeline or I guess decrease the timeline for approvals for rezones and for development. So
Speed up the development process.
So basically, I mean, to answer your question as far as what determines what, the basic rule is anything that goes to the planning commission is gonna come to.
I see that it's
is
in the
gonna come to
same.
both in the same meeting. Anything else there should be a gap unless it's urgent. Now, again, once you emphasize, Justin and I have talked about this before, council is always free to continue stuff. You should never feel pressure to actually vote on something just because it's on the agenda.
And then, so like, for example, with those last street issue, that specifically got like continued ahead of time. So that was actually abnormal because that did go before the planning commission, correct?
yeah, that was more, well, it was.
Did it come separate?
Well, it was noticed for the planning commission and the council, had its planning commission hearing, but was then never submitted to the council. So that's why it was.
Got it, okay.
It was marked as continued on the agenda because it was already noticed publicly for that day. If that makes sense.
Thanks for helping me understand.
All right, we're gonna move on. Thanks, Aaron. Next, a presentation regarding a citywide economic development study, and this will be presented by Cody Hill, our Economic Development Director.
Sure. That'd be great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, council. Appreciate your time and your focus on economic development. That's really exciting for my division. We're really appreciative of all of the thought and effort that we're kind of collaborating on putting together for this focus on economic development and getting a citywide study together. So I have circulated the request for proposals to all of you. And I think what we're hoping to do today is discuss if there's any gaping holes, glaring omissions, or things in that we do not like or do not want to retract or remove, discuss that, and then kind of come to a meeting of the minds so that we can finalize this request for a proposal and get it issued. Craig Christensen, really appreciate the email that you sent out earlier this morning with your thoughts on kind of areas where we could sharpen and increase focus on the request for proposals. And I mean, since you put that out there, that's probably makes the most sense to begin the discussion. because you did have, I think, 10 items where you thought we could improve this request for proposals for the economic development studies of it citywide. The first one was clarify the ultimate decisions the study should support, which was really just, hey, just call it out. Just say, hey, these are the industries that you need to go after. I think was the crux of that bullet point. Number 2, emphasize implementation level outputs. I think in the RFP request for proposals, we say short-term, medium-term, long-term efforts. But I think that's a good suggestion just to really specify, hey, first 3 years, 10 years, and really get that specified. Third, strengthen financial and fiscal impact analysis. So one thing that jumped out was looking at the cost side of the equation, which is easy to overlook. It's easy to say, hey, we bring in this business or this industry, and it's going to create so many jobs and so much property tax revenue when they build this amazing facility, and it's going to create some sales tax. But we don't look at, hey, but what is the impact going to be on public services, on public safety, on stormwater, on power? And so that was a really good suggestion. Number 4, expand competitive benchmarking. And so looking at, I believe that was the one, case studies where if we're going to be going after, we'll just use the life sciences industry since Caitlin brought that up a month ago. What happened in, let's say the Bay Area in Oakland, they were really successful. What is it that they did? And can we pull some examples from that, learn some lessons from them, what to do, what not to do, which I think would be very helpful in this study. Clarifying industry selection methodology. And I think that goes into just tying in what does the return on investment mean and applying it to the selection methodology for the industry. So really having that consistency between what it is that we're measuring and what we're trying to bring in, and how does that either sync or not sync with those measurements. Broaden stakeholder engagement. So add developers, capital providers, site selectors. I think that's a very good suggestion, something that we'll add in. Review timeline and phasing. So we break it into the 3 phases that we're coming to the council with: the diagnostics, which is something that Councilman Whitlock had talked about, that we added, how we wanted more diagnosis in this. Industry targeting for phase 2, and then phase 3 implementation strategy. 8, refine evaluation criteria, so that we are really delivering implementable strategies. And then support capability transfer to city staff, so that there's this really clean handover to city staff. Workshops, and then the last one, include interim testing of recommendations. Do you want to speak to this one a little bit? Because I think this one was a little bit, I wasn't sure how that would work or be feasible in a study.
Well, it was actually just more calling out that we would plan those things in.
Okay.
I'm not sure how they should be done.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that, but just that we have that built into the plan. Again, I thought you did a nice job.
Let's go through the 3 more.
Yeah. So, test industry priorities, validate assumptions, maintain leadership alignment. These are things that would be built into the milestones as we go forward. So that's my answer.
Great. Great. Was there any other direction from any other council members?
Could I just add something to that?
Please.
My intention wasn't to dominate the discussion. As I reflected on this, there's some learning on my part. I've been the one saying, go, are we done yet? And I think that's a good bias. And in situations like this, I know it's a friend of mine who does a lot of strategy work, and he said, the last thing you want to do is get something out quick and have really tight timeframes, and then the people who are actually available to bid on it aren't busy doing other things. And you end up getting a nice folder of really good information. And so it's great on strategy, but maybe not the flip side of the coin, which is implementation.
Yeah.
And so that's why I tap the brakes in terms of, as we think about timing, again, and I realize I'm raising my hand saying I was the one pushing for that. But the idea of gates, and Jeff talked about this last time, the idea of having gates where we have decision gate, we make decisions and we finalize, and then we move to the next. I don't think we want to rush that. And we certainly don't want to spend all our time navel gazing. But I think I was a bit excited about, let's get it done quickly. But there's a downside to just doing it quickly. We want it done well. So it's just mea culpa. I realized that was a learning for me as I went through your RFP.
Okay.
Councilor Whitlock.
Yeah, I want to say thank you for this. This is a really great step. And I love your feedback to Councilor Christensen. So I have a very similar reaction to this, is I feel like I really like the direction, I like the scope, but I think it's over scope for the timeline. I think we'll probably get mediocre work. So I might want to maybe build in some flexibility so that they could come propose a timeline, maybe given the scope, because I think we probably want the quality and the scope to drive the timeline, not the other way around, would be my thought. So that's my first reaction. I think there's an undefined budget, and I think that's kind of like the elephant in the room we need to probably start talking about at some point. My third is, I still feel like I love that we have a.
Jeff, we just pause on that.
Yeah, of course.
So what are you thinking, that it should contain a budget, or that should be deliverable of this study?
No, I'm just saying the cost of this study.
The cost of
Yeah,
study.
the budget we have in place to do it, and what it'll cost to get something that's high quality. And maybe we need to do, maybe we leave that open, and I don't know, but I think that's something we need to talk about.
Okay.
I really love
If I could speak to that real
Yes,
quick.
please,
So,
please.
I was a consultant for Lewis Young Robertson Birmingham for 5 years.
Yeah.
Did a handful of economic development related studies. I think we can put in, and I would have to talk to procurement about this to make sure it's fine, but I would put in just that we an anticipated cost range.
Yes.
Obviously, since we are going out to RFP, we would put the floor is, this is gonna, we know this is gonna cost more than 50K. That's why we're putting it out for an RFP, and we are not willing to pay more than
Yeah, that's exactly kind of what
100K, 80K, something like that. So I don't think we need to say this is how much we're paying, but if we can put in a window.
Agreed. Yeah, exactly. But I think we need to kind of get some alignment on what that window is. I love the section on success, definition of success. I still wonder if it's maybe too many things. And if there was a priority of what we were actually trying to do. Like, I think a lot of people mentioned increasing area median income, but I think that there's a lot of metrics in here. And sometimes when you're trying to optimize a lot of metrics, you don't really optimize anything.
So Jeff, you're talking about A, B, C, and D.
Yeah, but even within A, B, C, and D, there's multiple metrics in each bucket.
True, because I looked at AMI, absolutely. Shifts in job quality is reflected by the ratio of full-time and part-time. I'm not so sure. Not that it might not be helpful, but given our demographic, that may not be.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we could talk about each one, the pros and cons of each one, but I'm just saying there's probably like 14 metrics in here, 12 to 14. I mean, maybe not 10 to, but it's too many. I think it's helpful.
The idea that there are some metrics that are must-haves and others that they may
This is
consider.
the main metric we want to move. This is our North Star metric that we're trying to move. Here are the secondary, 3 to 5 KPIs that we would like in consideration. I just think this is far too many to do effectively.
That's fair.
I think we could potentially be a bit more precise in the engagement model section, and I think it's probably on us to define what we would like to see. But this gets to your point about stage gates and potentially having actually steering committee reviews with the council. And I can write up some thoughts there. this is a bit more of a nitpick, but I think it's an important philosophical word, is we use the word in the study called attract. I think for me, it's more, and I'm curious what the council thinks. For me, it's more about developing than necessarily attracting. Like, to me, attracting means like, let's go see how we win Amazon HQ3. I'm not sure that's what we're looking for, more like fostering what's already here. But again, that's just my thoughts. But I think that word felt a little loaded to me. And then my last bit of feedback was, it felt like that place in how it's written was disconnected from, I just wanted to see like tighter connection between the place-based development and land use strategy with the economic diagnosis and investment prioritization. Like, to me, place, it just needs to be better connected. I think there needs to be like a philosophical alignment on this, but at least the way I see it is that like you have a thematic strategy and then place is connected to that and comes out of that, rather than starting with place. And then to use an example, like Mesa is like, we want to be a world-class destination for spring training. That's their thematic strategy. And then they say, well, we have one stadium here, let's try to get another one. And then we're going to actually then have a high-end shopping mall across from both the stadiums or whatever. Like the thematic strategy kind of guides the place. And I didn't see that connection as strongly as I was expecting. Okay.
Okay. Any other comments or feedback or questions?
I just really appreciate the work, and I appreciate the thorough comments that Craig sent to everyone, and Jeff's as well. They both have more business experience than I have, and so I'm really, really grateful that they're both weighing in with that.
Are they resonating?
Yes, yeah.
Because we get the opposite. I want to make sure that we're.
Like, these guys are terrible. No, you're great, and I appreciate you being able to come in and say those things.
So Jeff and I had a chance to get together last week, and it was just really helpful to just brainstorm, because we put ourselves in your shoes and it's like, oh, goodness, what do they want? And I hope what you're not hearing is put more in. I actually wouldn't mind, like, with this feedback and better understanding, maybe start again. And could we keep it to like 2 pages? Because I think that would force, I'm not telling you how to do your job. I'm just saying sometimes that kind of restart helps you reframe all this, instead of let's build on a house and let's build on this, let's build on this. Because that won't work. Like Jeff's point about the outcomes, I think we could probably get it down to like 3 or 4. And it's unfair to you to guess at what that is. You don't know. In fact, I couldn't even answer for the council's benefits. And so I guess what I would offer, and I don't know if this is helpful or not, but I think as a council, I'd just like to find ways to be more helpful to you as you do this. This is just so critical and just such an important bet, for us as a city, that it's worth probably handling a little bit differently. And I'll volunteer Jeff. Jeff is happy to help. I'm happy to help. There might be others happy to help, to work along with you, instead of like you hoping that you guess right. Because,
well, to get like the top 4 things, we should do like a survey or something of all of us and go take out the ones you got, and we'll get the top 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
So whatever would be helpful.
Okay.
Not trying to tell you how to do your job. This is great work, truly.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And trying to figure out what 7 people think and want is a challenge.
I love that you pointed out our unique culture and like the values that we have, and that's an important segment we don't want to lose. And I noticed there was something else. Oh, I want to make sure that they're not just plugging us in thinking, oh, they're like this place in Colorado or this place, and so let's do the same thing. Like you recognize our uniqueness, and I think we need to put that all together and make sure that we are getting not just a boiler from some other city slapped on us.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I kind of connected to what you were talking about that I have in here is just kind of speaks to our social capital, which is kind of the principle of, it's a measurable of a community, of how connected they are, how supportive they are of each other, how volunteer minded they are. And I think that is definitely going to come out as a strength in Provo.
Absolutely. Very unique.
And
Yeah.
we're a desired workforce, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the colleges around here get recruited from all over the country and government.
Yeah.
Specifically for these people.
So
Right.
for the next step, would you like me to tie in this bit of feedback that we have, make a draft final RFP, and then get it on the next work session?
Yeah, and do a survey in the meantime on those couple things it needs.
Okay, and I'll work with staff to get a survey going.
And I would suggest do you need to wait until the next work session? Now, if you need that much time, take that much time.
Get it out to us so we can start looking.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, the sooner the better.
And that's the part of, again, and then maybe a few of us could get together and help answer some of those questions to help expedite what you're doing.
Yeah, that'd be
So,
great.
I would not let these work sessions dictate your time.
Okay.
Yeah, because based on discussion today, I would be confident if we had a small group meeting that involved Craig and or Jeff talking with him to do those final edits. I don't think I would add additional good things to that meeting.
I think the thing that would be most important though, to ensure that this meets the goals is alignment from the council on the metric, like what the
That's the one.
definition of success.
That's
That's the one, that is the
definitely
most
all of
important
us.
thing, exactly. Because if we can get alignment on that.
The rest is easy.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay. Then I
But
will.
let's do that, all of us, for the metric.
Yes, everyone for the metric, and then council members Whitlock and Christensen on finalizing, getting that draft final just nailed.
Shame us all until we respond to the email.
Well, if you don't respond, you don't get input, but we'll try.
Let me just say thank you.
Yes.
I just so appreciate the priority you're putting on this, and the talent you're bringing to it. So I'm, as Jeff and I talked about it, just kudos, really good things.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm glad that just my background and my experience kind of dovetails with this really well.
Okay, thanks, Cody.
One thing real quick, budget was brought up, not to be a downer, but I'll bring it up. We initially kind of started talking about this in the context of FY 27 priorities. It sounds like, and things are moving much quicker than that. So I talked with Scott a little bit about this, especially in looking at forecasting for the FY 27 budget. It might be more appropriate, or at least it's an option, to do an appropriation in this fiscal year that would take that constraint off of that part of the forecasting for the upcoming budget, but would also allow for folks to get moving faster. So just something to put on your radar, as that'll probably need to come forward.
And depending on kind of back to what Councilmember Whitlock was saying on how if we better match up the timeline with the scope, then it might be split between both fiscal years, and that could be helpful as well. So that you would pay, incrementally as they develop the work product. And then if the final deliverable is the second week of July, that's obviously going to come from the fiscal year budget.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for the field.
Brian will speak to us on a closed session.
We do have one closed session item to be brought for you. It does have to do with sale of property that meets the statutory requirements, so a closed session would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you. So we'll make a motion to go into a closed session.
I'll second.
All right.
Okay. Councillor Whipple made the motion and Councillor Craig Christensen seconded it. We'll take a vote on the motion. McKay, yes. Christensen.
Yes.
Whitlock.
Yes.
Bogdan. Yes. Hoban. Are you still with us, Travis? You left? Okay. Whipple.
Yes.
Garrett.
Yes.
So that's 6 to 0 for a closed session. So we'll move to closed session.